fuck? Hey, welcome to Creative Block. We're your hosts, Gene.
And V, we interview people in creative industries about their life, work, and hobbies while we doodle jam.
We ask people on Twitter if they have specific topics they want us to discuss, as well as some drawing prompts.
And today with us, we have Lord Spew, a.k.a. Sean Glaze. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, Clem, make sure you keep that intro in. That was custom made for Sean here. I feel like
What, the cough that you did at the beginning?
It would feel like it was the appropriate way to kick off a Lord Spew interview. Sean, you are. This is already gone off the rails.
What am I? What
tell
am
us,
I?
I just thought it was, tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, we need to know more about who Lord Spew is.
Okay, so hi, I'm Lord Spew. I also go in the real world by Sean Glaze, like the donut. I'm
Like the donut.
I'm a storyboard artist for a living, and I make shorts online. I also stream on Twitch, and I host an interview show called Dueling Drawing Requests on Twitch every Sunday. Yeah, I mean that's most of what I do. I work on shows as a storyboard artist, and I make cartoons in my own time. So, hi, that's me.
Yeah, and yeah, your show's a lot of fun. We were guests on it recently, and it is very hectic, but it is a lot of fun. It is a drawing battle, which is very interesting. And I really appreciate that you did those little like PNG tubers for us. That's a lot of work for one episode.
A lot of production value going into this, like
Oh,
not only just finding the guests, but doing all little drawings and like you customize the whole arena. Yeah, everyone, like if you want to watch some of the episodes that have already aired, they're on YouTube on Sean's YouTube channel. And then there's but if you want to participate, there's the live version on Sundays. So that's pretty cool.
Very cool. Sean, tell us how you got your start. How did you first get into animation? What kind of sparked that interest in you?
Oh, yeah. And also, what college did you go to? I'm also
so I went to a University of Arts in Philly, and originally I started off sort of in fine art a little bit. Like I painted and stuff, and then I was like, oh, I want to be serious, and I'm going to go for 3D because so I can make realistic, serious, impressive things. And I think that around sophomore year of that experience, I realized that I just wanted to make people laugh. And I remember I had a thesis planned out that was like sort of artsy, and I really wasn't feeling it. And then I went on a little break, like a Christmas break, and I remember for fun, just to make my buddy laugh, I made this cartoon about a guy with a fist for a head, and he was like powering up, and all of his parts were turning into fists, and his wiener was coiling into a fist, and then he beats people up, and I was like, man, I did this like in one day, and it's so much better than anything serious that I could have done. And so I scrapped my thesis and made that, and I think that's when I sort of realized that for a little while I had been doing art. Maybe
Hold on, I want to say I'm so scared of what you're doing here. I am so scared of what you're drawing here.
the drawing.
I have no idea where this is gonna go, and I am utterly terrified.
It's a football man that's going to be making out with a football.
Oh, okay. It's a football
for
man.
Valentine's Day Super Bowl.
I was just so scared of where it was going, but anyway, carry on. I'm sorry.
I was just filling in all the worst details last, so that everyone all the way up.
You were just starting from the yeah. Carry on. I wasn't gonna stop you anyway, but I was just mortified.
No, I'm not gonna come on your show and just immediately draw porn.
Yeah. first minute.
But I will draw something that's still a little cursed. It's still cursed.
No,
what
that's
I'm
fine.
drawing still is going to
Carry
make you
on.
feel dirty. But I think that I realized that for a while I had been making cartoons that I think they weren't cartoons that they weren't drawings that I wanted to make. They were drawings that I thought other people wanted to see or would be
Oh, yeah.
justified by, like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
paying all this money to go to art school. Like if I draw something like a fart joke, like that's going to be a waste of the money. So like,
Money. Mhm.
yeah, so I finally was like, I was actually having motivation issues before that, like getting myself to draw, and I wasn't sure what it was, and then I realized, oh, it's because I'm not drawing anything that I actually want to draw. I'm just drawing what,
Right.
like, I think would make my parents proud or whatever. So then I started switching to drawing things that would exclusively make my parents not proud, and then I was so happy.
That's good. Yeah, you figured it out.
I love
Yeah,
that.
I mean, doing anything for anybody else is a quick way to burn out. Like that's never.
Yeah, but I
Another
think
way
that,
to
like,
go.
depending on the artist, it can take a really long time to figure it out. Like, I mean,
Sure.
I don't even think I've figured it out up until
Oh,
now, and
I
I've
definitely
been,
haven't.
yeah, it's been 10 years I've been working in this business. So, yeah. And so you started making these pieces for you that you really enjoyed. And what was the reaction that you got from, like, your peers, your teachers? How was your thesis received?
My peers were like, I can't believe you did that. Like, it's so good. You're gonna get a show, like you're gonna get a show made, or like right away they were like, like this is amazing. Like I remember, like, a lot of my classmates were like, they were like turning in things that sort of looked like pencil tests. Like they were good at animating, but they didn't like not all of them were like cleaning up their work completely. Like mine looked like an internet short that was all clean, and it had like written jokes. And I think at the time, students were also pretty scared of putting any dialogue in their film. Like nobody was taking script writing classes. People were afraid about getting voice actors. Like there's all this stuff that sort of goes into making, like, what people would call like the art student film, like where it's like a lot of times it looks like a pencil test, or it's just like a one piece of music that's put in and there's no dialogue. So I was like really trying to, like, okay, I want to make something that I would see on the internet or on TV or whatever, and like try to replicate that. And yeah, I mean, I posted that on YouTube and Newgrounds, and it was the first cartoon I ever made that like did well. Like it was like out of nowhere. Like I got this validation, like I'm onto something a little bit, and that cartoon, even though I had another year of school, is actually what got me my first jobs in LA and got that show eventually. We ended up pitching that to Adult Swim, and it got optioned, like that first cartoon. So it was like,
Holy moly!
for some
that's
reason,
huge.
that cartoon, there was someone was speaking through me. The Lord works in mysterious ways, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But what'd you say? Why would you say, like, for some reason, like, because obviously the cartoon was good, or do you mean that, like, oh, you didn't know that you had the pitching skills to do it, or did you not believe in the short enough, or kind of like, what's your take on, like, for some reason they got this?
Oh, I think that it's mostly because it was like my first 2-minute cartoon. It was like my first finished thought, and for some reason that ended up being like something that resonated with people. And even today, it's a cartoon where, like, if I make another cartoon and I put it on my YouTube channel, people go like, yeah, but what about Fisthead? Where's Fisthead? and I'm like, oh no.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know what it is about it, but I struck some sort of like I think that there's something to be said about like finding that like raw thing that like actually is the reason that makes you want to do what you do. And then like the first time that you strike that and you hit that like that G spot of cartoons, like it's powerful, I think.
This is the X-rated episode.
Yeah.
Oh, because of the footballs? This is softcore. I'm
Because
keeping
of
it
the
PG.
yeah.
Wait, I don't think
okay.
people are allowed to do this in PG things, are they? They're not allowed to kiss?
No, you can say fuck once. You can kiss.
All right, I'll make this
You
one a
can say
closed
shit a
mouth
lot.
kiss.
Yeah,
This one's kind of
please
sweet.
keep this G-rated. This is a G-rated podcast.
I was gonna ask, so you said that you still had 1 year of school. Does that mean that people started reaching out to you during that last year of school, or did it like what was the time frame between the moment you released your short online and when you started getting interest from studios?
I think I was like a quarter of the way through my senior year, and people started reaching out. There was a recruiter from Fox ADHD, which was a company that Fox had made to sort of do an Adult Swim kind of thing, but as a Fox block, but they were starting off as a web company, like a web shorts company, and they initially asked me to move out here to write on a show, and
cool.
so I moved out here to write on a show right after my senior year finished, and I got fired 1 week in because I didn't like. I had never been in a writer's room, and they didn't really teach me, and so I came out. I looked around. I was in the room with the creators of the show drawn together, the lead writer of American
No
Dad,
way.
the lead writer of American Dad, the guy who developed like Metalocalypse and stuff at Adult Swim, like the original Adult Swim guy, and as well as Ego Raptor and L Sid from Newgrounds.
What?
And they
all
were
of these people in the same room?
yeah, and they were like, oh, we're doing this like experimental writers room where we get some like internet people, some not internet people, and just super immediately they realized that I was just out of school, and I didn't fit, and they fired me, and I was like, oh, I moved out here, and so I freaked out, and I asked like, hey, can I like pitch some shorts to you guys or something? And they're like, yeah. And so the next day I came in with 7 short ideas, and they picked one, and that's when I started making my first short that I was getting paid to do.
Wow.
And so that short was called Stuff That Didn't Fit Into Other Stuff. It was a game show where they find stuff that doesn't fit into another thing and they make it fit. and I was like, oh, okay, like I'm really doing this. I remember turning it in. It was a 3-minute animated short that I did everything for, just every single thing. And they took the 3-minute short, and without me knowing, they cut it down to 1.5 minutes after it was animated.
Damn.
I was like, okay, cool. That's great. This is great. Okay,
What the fuck?
awesome.
That's so much work thrown out.
Yeah. So Fox ADHD had this philosophy where like shorter is better always, and so they would just like cut everything like super short. So I did that, and then they were like, okay, so we're hiring for a shorts team. Do you want to come work on the shorts team? But I remember that like throughout this, I got to know the bosses at this company, and they would, as I worked my way up through the company, they would always tell this story in the most embarrassing moments about how they fired me. Like they would like introduce me to like
Cool.
Nick. They would introduce me to Nick Offerman and be like, "So when Sean moved out here, he worked here for a week and then we just fired him, and he basically just he basically just swept floors and worked his way up through the company, and now he's still here." And I was like, and I would always be like, like, "Hi, nice to meet you." Like, good introduction. Hi, I'm the fired guy. What's up?
That's crazy. Oh my god. What, like, I don't know. I guess that's so interesting. I don't know if that's like maybe they thought it was really funny. Maybe they thought it was an actually really funny story.
Oh, I'm sure they did. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably just like trying to like give you a tragic backstory. Yeah.
Yeah, make me the underdog, and that so everybody roots for me after that. It's nice. I was like, yes. Instead of a phoenix rising from the ashes, I'm more ashes rising from the ashes. Let's go. You know, just no. But I ended up working at that company, and it's I think that over my first year or year and a half working at that company, I worked on 50 internet shorts that were over a minute long, and it was like a crazy like first year of a career to have, because every single week we had to come out with a short in a different style that was like over a minute, and with a small team of people. And so like I had to learn how to like animate straight away, or like straight ahead. Like I had to stop doing sketches and become confident in the animation, because we had to animate so fast. I had to learn to adapt to styles really fast, and it was like this crazy crash course on we would each trade off positions. So like one person would direct, and the next short they would design, the next short they would animate, the next short they would storyboard, and we would trade off in between these few people. And from then, basically the company was like, "Hey, we love this shorts team. You guys make such good shorts. We want this show to feel like a short, so we're going to promote all of you to being the main people on this show." And that was this show called Lucas Brothers Moving Company, and that was the first show that I had worked on for them. Experimental, and it's, so there's like, for sure, I think that there's some negative things that I hear people say about that studio, but they sort of took some risks that I probably wouldn't have ever gotten taken on me if it wasn't at like this like weird studio that like I came in when it was like 15 people working in a house, and like, you know, when I left, it was almost 200 people in 3 buildings in LA. Like sort of seeing it come up from the ground.
I have a couple of friends, same thing. Like they got their first gig through ADHD, and it's kind of like, it is hard to land a job in the bigger companies like Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, because those are like, they already want seasoned people. They're like, oh well, we just want someone that already has experience, and it's kind of like this never-ending circle of like, well, how do I get a first job? See, if you want somebody that already's got experience. So it's really cool to hear that there are studios like ADHD, even though, you know, like they went under, right? Like how long were they running?
They had a 3-year contract. That's it. They had a 3-year contract, and then the executive that was like sort of spearheading it got switched out or something. But I think what was cool about that place is like, specifically they wanted internet animators. They wanted like young internet animators that could make their own things and pitch things, and while I think that backfired a little bit. I think that they got a lot of like really, really cool internet creators, and then sort of didn't trust them. So they would like ask them to like direct things or pitch things, and then they would change up their shorts a lot. And I think that the internet creators really didn't like that, because they were used to having control, which makes a lot of, I mean, at Fox ADHD, I met a lot of my initial sort of like cartoon heroes like from Newgrounds, and you know, and I was working with Mark
Sure.
M, and I was working with you know, for a little bit Ego Raptor, and it was like these
Yeah.
people that I mean I had seen cartoons on TV, but like the Newgrounds was this place where it was like, whoa, these are people like me, and like these are people that are like making things that like, I should check over my shoulder, make sure my parents aren't watching me watch this. These are like adult cartoons on the internet, you know?
It's very raw. Yeah. It's like, yeah.
That's amazing. That's so funny. Oh my god. And how was it like? How was that 1 week in the writers' room? And why do you think, like, have you learned anything from this week? Like, is there things that now you know that you should have done
Yes.
differently?
Yes, I was new in the writers' room, and what I should have done is let there be silence, let the experienced writers think, and write down my own
Oh.
ideas. And if I have one really, really good one, wait my turn. I remember there was this Rocket Power episode that is a good example of this. I remember they like go to surf at another beach, and like all these like people from that beach are like messing with them because they're like they're doing really sick tricks on the waves and stuff, but it's like they're not waiting their turn for the people that started the you know, that live there.
Yeah.
And so like they get disrespected, and when they learn to wait their turn, everybody's happy and they gain the locals respect. Anyway, so it's kind of like that. It's kind of like this episode of Rocket Power, exactly. And
I love bringing up rocket power as a metaphor. Yeah.
Amazing.
That's a first for Creative Block. I love it.
So basically, I was like really gung ho and loud, and I thought the loudest idea won, and I talked a whole lot. And what I realize now also is they were trying to figure out broad story beats, and I was pitching small jokes, like because that's what I was
see.
strongest at. I was like, oh, you know, like I was drawing and like pitching like short little gags, and they were trying to figure out big story beats, and so I was probably just disruptive and loud.
Well, did you also feel like at the time you were probably just nervous and like eager to impress? Because I could see that happening
Yes.
to me
Yes.
at least.
I was eager to impress.
Yeah.
I think that I mean there were all these people in there that I wanted to think that I was funny, and I think also like I also think that they handled it badly too, though, because they were trying this new thing, and we were all guinea pigs in this situation. And I realized that that they were trying out something new, and they were afraid that things that they were trying weren't working out, and so they were like switching gears real quick also. And yeah, I mean, I think that you know, I think it's unfortunate, but I it's also a learning experience in rejection too, and learning, you know, the hard way, and that can be useful.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it's relatable too, because I feel it's something. I don't know if we've talked about that on Creative Block yet, but there's something about working in anything that slightly resembles a writer's room. So like I worked on a feature, and there's moments when there were like you show your boards and then people give notes, but it's halfway between giving notes and pitching moment like story. And you know, I kind of similarly to you, I was just like, well, pitch, or this is kind of like what I like, where I think this should go, or like story. And then it was actually like, no, you're new to the company. They want you to kind of like earn your mark, kind of.
Yeah.
Like you kind of like gotta just kind of lay low and get the vibe of the culture of the company, and that can take between month to years. So
Yeah, no, dude, I don't think
know.
I realized what I had done wrong until I worked on stuff like regular show where they have you do writers' rooms, or like where they have. Sorry,
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, where they have you like write dialogue on the episode, because you're not only needing to listen to these writers and listen to their opinions and sort of like translate what they're handing you, but also you are listening to your partner and learning how to compromise, learning how to not distract the other person, and I think a combination of that and also like doing my first like small writer's room myself for like a pilot or something. Like I realized like, oh, okay, like if someone is like talking every 5 seconds with like, you know, random stuff they're throwing out, like it can be distracting, and sometimes you have to like write down your ideas and like think, is this actually a good idea? Is this worth like
Yeah.
stopping everyone else in the room with my idea?
Mm.
Yeah. There is kind of a weird like chemistry and like etiquette to a writer's room where it's like it's not enough to just have ideas. And it's something that yeah, it just kind of takes time to learn. And even like you've both mentioned the like the sort of silences and the gaps in between, and it's like, man, a lot of being in a writer's room is just kind of riffing and like talking about things that have happened to you, and like that's okay, because that's you never know what's gonna like set something off in like somebody else, like you never know where like ideas come from, and it's just about like keeping the energy kind of moving, and that doesn't always mean like generating ideas. Yeah.
Well, there's that, but I feel there's also like a hierarchy that it took me a really long
Yeah.
time to understand. Like it took me like a month to after the fact to be like, oh, actually, there's kind of like you
Yeah.
should be talking all the time because there's a person that's supposed to be talking more, or like there's a person
Sure.
like
Yeah.
there's like things like that like is really tricky because nobody tells you, because if you kind of like are crazy, no one is gonna be like, hey, can we like get a coffee, and listen, this is what you did, it's okay, I get it, but next time don't do this thing. Like no one's gonna do that for you. Yeah.
Yeah, those people are
Yeah,
amazing.
I wish that someone had done that for me. Yeah, I wish that someone had done that for
Yeah,
me back then. But yeah, 'cause I definitely was like someone else was like suggesting something, and I was definitely like, or what if, like, and I would like change it to my idea just
yeah.
all the time, and that's like for the lead writer to do. Like that's not for me to go. No.
Yeah.
But what if instead of your idea, we do this?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that like the head writer is supposed to just sort of almost be a conductor, right? And it's like
Yeah.
you're just like trying to get everyone to move towards the right thing. And if you're a junior writer, you just got to shit out ideas. You're just like a idea generation machine, really.
Yeah, I mean, and
yeah.
really, I should have just been like a little silent guy that, like, when I realized that everyone else ran out of ideas, I should have said a few of mine and like shown them a picture or two. I think that
Yeah.
if I had just like blended in and been chill, I think that it would have worked. But hindsight is 2020, and I think that it was just a funny excuse in like risking it all and then having it all blow up in your face immediately, and then having to like scramble around to like to figure it out. But that's sort of what animation is, I feel like.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, and it's this thing where it's like I feel like as an animation artist, it's a real learning curve, or at least for me it is, that like you spend so much of your time in college or even as a kid drawing, that like drawing is a solitary act. It's not, you're not improvising, or you're not like team playing when you're drawing, you're by yourself in your mind. And then learning to all these social codes, all of these in between the lines kind of things, it's like a learning a whole other new skill that
Yeah.
you had to undermine during a certain period of your life to get to the level of draftsmanship that you need to be a successful animator. So it's a little bit of that, like, I mean, I feel that sometimes, and it's something I'm trying to be more conscious of. But back to your career, and after ADHD, what was the next? How was your career after ADHD? How long was it before you landed your next gig? Was it scary? Kind of what was that moment?
Basically, I had my first storyboarding job on the show called Stone Quackers at Fox ADHD, and it was similar enough to to regular show, and through Stone Quackers there were some like mutuals from regular show or friends from people at regular show. I had gotten recommended for regular show, and basically on a Thursday, I got, a Thursday afternoon, I got a call. Hey, can you come in for a meeting tomorrow morning for a possible regular show storyboard position that starts on Monday? And they sent me. They were like, I know you don't have enough time to do a full writing board test. Can you just do the writing test, which was basically like a series of pages with characters with different speech bubbles where you're like writing out little playful, comic dialogue almost. Um, and I did that. I went in, and I remember that, like, I was like, okay, so I haven't seen all of regular show, but I have to make them think that like I'm a regular show expert. Like, how do I do this? And so I remember there was one question where the prompt was Skips has to trim a hedge. What's the shape of the hedge that he trims? Like the end result. And so I looked up Skip's backstory, and I was like, oh, whoa, he has like a long lost love. And I made it in her shape of her head. And I remember in the interview, JG was like, whoa, like this part really made me feel like okay, you like really know your stuff about the show, and you can really apply it, and like it's clear that you really know the show. And I was like, I tricked everybody, but uh, but I remember going into I also remember going into that interview in like a hardcore shirt with a big old angry dog on it and short shorts and a little cap. And I remember waiting in the lobby, and my friend was like, what are you here for? And I was like, I'm here for an interview for regular show. And he was he laughed at me because I came in like sort of like a little kid's outfit. But I was like, listen, if they don't like me at my little kid, then they can't have me at my adult.
Grown adult. Yeah, I took that same test like at least 2 times, I think. And and I like you sparked this memory in me that it's like, I had no idea. I mean, clearly I didn't get the job, so I was never going to be a good fit. But it was just like, like what do you do with that part of the test? I had no idea. And the fact that you like cracked the code is really interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, so what I think is another thing that I think tests are really interesting, and it's also something that a lot of people debate a lot about, because there's a lot of people that don't like tests, a lot of people that do like tests. But for me, tests have been this way where like without that test, there's no way that they would have let me on that show. But like when I take that test, I like give it a little bit something extra. And what I usually do on storyboard tests is I fuck with the test a little bit. Like I take the test and I mess with it a little bit. Like there was a test one time where it was like, okay, these kids are lost in the woods and they come across a monster. That's like the outline. Now it's your guys' chance to like you storyboard like what happens. And so I remember for this one show, I changed all of the characters to having bowl cuts in their designs, and they were looking for this plant that would cure them of these bowl cuts that they got like a spell cast on them or something. And like I just remember like I was like, I just want to make all these guys look really stupid and mess with their designs and like and make a plot excuse to do that. And I remember in an interview they were like, oh, you're the bowl cut guy, and they remembered my test because of that. And I do that with tests almost every time. Like I do just a little something different that'll make me stand out and make it like playful. Yeah.
That's great. Because that's really interesting to me, because I think that I definitely, back when I was still putting up with tests, I don't really want to do them ever again.
Yeah.
But it's, you feel like you're in this rigid mindset of like, I have to, stick to the script, so to say, or like whatever within the parameters of the test. But like, what you described is great, because it makes you memorable. And in that regular show test that I took, I think I was following it so closely and trying to like, I'm gonna show how funny I am. But it's like you're not gonna show how funny you are within those rigid parameters.
Yeah,
And
you can
so,
only
like,
show how only you could add to the show. Like
Yeah,
if they got you, what's your unique flavor that you would bring? And that's what that's what it's nice to focus on, I think.
I think that's a really good bit of advice. I think that, and also as far as the discourse, the discourse about testing, I feel like the solution to all of that is just paid tests. Like I think that there's nothing wrong with tests. Like I think everyone can agree that anyone that ever had to do any hiring for anything can agree that like you have to know what the person can do, and at a certain point maybe you could just look at their portfolio, but I think it's just a free test. And also like when they get crazy and it's like board 6 pages of a script, it's like fuck off with that shit. Like that's not fair.
I think it's also just a matter of like being very clear in the test packet that you put out. The tests that I've managed to like succeed in are always the tests where the showrunner knew exactly what they wanted and they were able to explain it in the test. Like I'm the kind of person, if it's like, tell me the rules and I'll follow them, I do great. If someone's like, read between the lines and read my mind, I am like, sorry, I'm not a psychic. I wish.
Yeah, I also think that people that are more experienced and have lots of examples of either their writing style or their drawing style, or at least something from the past that is at least similar to what the show's tone is, they shouldn't have to take a test. Like you should be able to see from people's work if they would be a good fit. And if you're not doing that, then they're just not taking enough time to like look at these people and they're being lazy. So I think that like, there's a few different answers there, but I agree the paid test thing is nice. My only worry with the paid test thing is that it'll make them precious about who they give tests to, and sometimes getting a random test when you're like some kid right out of school is like your only hope. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean I get it.
Yeah.
I like this.
Exactly.
I like this version of my pitch that you drew me.
Yeah. Check it out. It's a fart.
I made the cute version.
Yeah. Just keep adding on to it.
Hold on, I'm gonna
spit take.
I'm gonna draw.
Yeah, there's this spit take.
I'm gonna draw this guy drinking out of
coffee.
his coffee.
This exec is like a fart. I've never even conceived that.
Well, that's preposterous. That's preposterous.
A cartoon farting.
This is an anti-fart show.
Speaking of cartoon farts, what was the conception of Dueling Drawing Request?
So basically, I was following some advice that I gave somebody a while back. Sort of somebody new who was trying to break into the industry. I gave them this advice. Their question was, I'm new. How do I like talk to artists? Like, how do I like get out there and talk to artists? And so I was like, make like a reason to talk to them. Just make a reason to interview them or to draw with them. If you want to get to know artists that you like, make like an article or an interview thing or a blog or whatever. And I mean, a lot of artists like talking about what they do. They like the little ego stroke of getting asked to get interviewed. Like, oh, I'm important. Like you'd be surprised how many artists, if you reached out to them right now, they would be down to talk to you as long as they feel like you're sincere and not trying to use them in some way.
Yep.
So I think that I was like, so there's that. And then also one of my favorite ways of working is sort of like the drink and draw format or the Google Hangout format where I used to have this large group of people that I would have in like a Facebook chat, and I would throw up a link every once in a while, and just like anybody who wants to join me, I'm going to be drawing in here for like 3 hours while I work. And then that moved to Discord. And I had these drink and draws every other week that we would curate. And then I was like, man, I want an excuse to talk to these cool artists that I've been a fan of, or I want to be able to share artists that I know and love with people on Twitch and do kind of a live thing. So I think the competition thing, like I initially thought it was fun, and then I dialed it back a little bit because I was like, I know not everyone likes to like the idea of competing like with a drawing. So I was like, okay, so maybe like the competition's there a little bit for the chat, but no one really takes it seriously. Most of the time, the chat prevents me from winning, and that's funny. Like, and I'll put these things in place so that it's not like, oh, come on my thing, I'm gonna fucking dunk on you. Like I'm gonna cream you every time because I've done this 40 times, and this is the first time you've drawn in front of people on Twitch. Like I'm gonna fucking cream you. So most of the time, I'm like having to draw with my left hand with my eyes closed, and my drawings aren't even discernible.
Yeah, you put a lot of handicaps on yourself.
Well, yeah, because there were a
That's
few
so fun though.
at the beginning. There were a few at the beginning where it was clear that I had just done this format more than some people, and they were trying to figure out how to talk and draw at the same time. And yeah,
it's tough. You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
It's rare that we were saying this before the show, but it's rare that we get somebody that can do that because we've learned that it's a skill that not everyone has, and it's like it's tough. I've given up on it. I can't really talk and draw at the same time. I've learned this.
I think it's like if you're a doodler.
You know what helps? You know what helps, dude? I think that steering the conversation towards things that are funny to draw also really helps. It's one reason why I've really liked going on Jonan's stream is because he that his stream works is like they're not talking about industry stuff really. We're just bullshitting, and the bullshit turns into drawings, and we're drawing what we're saying. And I think that format is cool also, and is pretty conducive to like being able to talk while you're drawing if what you're saying is just nonsense.
Yeah.
But we're trying not to say absolute nonsense right now, which is hard.
That's the part. Yeah, I was gonna say like that's what's hard is because I don't want to lose. I don't want to not be paying attention. Yeah. And there would definitely be moments in past episodes where I would get into a drawing and then I'd be like, wait, fuck, I didn't hear the last like 5 minutes of what the guest is saying. And like I'm glad we have two hosts because V will pick up the slack usually. But it's I'm like I don't want to. I can't do that anymore.
At the beginning of Dueling Drawing Requests, I used to have to write like a lot of questions beforehand because I did have moments where I was drawing and then I lost track of what I was saying and I wouldn't have a question prepared and there would be this weird silence. So I always had like 15 questions prepared for every guest, and I stopped doing it recently because I got lazy, and I'm trying to just like get better at interviewing and just go with the flow. But yeah.
I agree too that like interviewing is like a nice skill to cultivate just because I mean especially when you're an artist and you're not very much of a people person, or maybe you guys are, but like for me I'm very introverted, so it's kind of hard to talk to people. And interviewing is like kind of all right, like I want to know more, like being genuinely curious about somebody else and like trying to find all the little details that make all the stories stand out. Kind of I think that's the most fun part. Where I kind of wanted to ask you a little bit about Midnight Gospel, because how long did you stay on regular show, and what was your journey between regular show and Midnight Gospel?
So I was on regular show for just the last season, and which was really nice because basically during the last season they threw out everything. They you know, like it was all new backgrounds, all new settings. Like I didn't have to reference their huge library of backgrounds that were already made and like you know, figure out how to reuse everything. Like we were, you know, it was all new things, and so that was kind of nice. It was a little bit, I think, more relaxing of a start. It was almost like I was starting on a new show. So I was on that for a year, and then I mean I hopped around. I worked on some Adult Swim stuff, some Adult Swim bumpers. I worked on the show Tigtone on Adult Swim. I worked on like a show called Little Big Awesome. I worked on
Oh, that's cool.
just I worked on Pickle and Peanut. I worked on
Oh, right.
yeah,
I
I
love that
hopped around. I
show.
hopped
It's
around a
so
bunch, man.
fun.
It was a very hard show,
Yeah.
but I think that it was good because because it was so hard. They were so like there was so many jokes thrown out, and they were so willing to do that. It made it a very hard show to work on, but I think it was good because of that, which kind of is a scary thing. but but um it's, but I think that what led to me working on the Midnight Gospel was I worked on man I it's not released or anything. I basically I worked on this little pilot teaser for somebody, and it basically was just one of the craziest things I had ever boarded. It basically tracked this this vegetable from its harvest through this complicated Rube
Oh,
Goldberg machine, like basically takes you on a tour through this house, and so you see it going through all these tubes in between rooms, and each family member prepares it in a different way, and it's like almost a continuous shot, and it was just like this crazy
Damn.
thing that I storyboarded, and I think Penn happened to see it, and
oh wow.
Mhm.
and it was something that he wanted to use the vibe of for Midnight Gospel, and I think yeah, I think it was just like a freak accident because he hadn't, I don't think he had seen my work before that, but you never know what you'll work on that somebody ends up saying. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
cool thing about all this, you know.
For real. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. You gotta just do stuff.
But I feel super lucky about the Midnight Gospel, and just like I was on board team 1, and out of 8 episodes there were 3 teams, and out of 8 episodes somehow I ended up working on 4, and I don't know what the math is on that, but I feel very lucky to have touched so much of it.
Yeah, because this show is incredible. Like, have you worked on the first episode?
Yeah,
The one
yeah,
with the zombies and stuff?
yeah, yeah.
That one's my favorite. This one's so
Awesome.
good. It's just like it's so fun to watch. I was like, because at first I was kind of like, I mean, there's a lot, you know, I'm a critic because like Midnight Gospel
He's
has
a
like
critic.
I'm a critic, but like everything, there's like so much that I like about the concept of Midnight Gospel. So I was kind of worried that, you know, like when you have really high expectations, like you're really worried about like being let down. But the show's so good, and I was like, all right, this is great. I'm happy. I'm happy with it. And like the zombie like first episode is just like all the attention to detail to every single little thing that happens. It's just there's just so much packed into every single shot, and I was like, that's really a feat. I was like, wow, this is like an episode I could watch probably 10 times and still like find new things happening. That's crazy. What was the schedule like?
So it was
how
a
was
6 week, it was a 6 week board schedule, and basically we would get this podcast audio, and we would get a very vague outline, like sort of just like a few paragraphs overall what should happen. And in that way, like even though we weren't writing a whole lot of dialogue, it still felt like a storyboard driven show, because we were constantly pitching like basically we were like, okay, they're in the White House for like 5 minutes. What are they doing in there? All, you know, like in between the beat of they meet the president, they play pool, there's a zombie attack, like what are they doing through all that? And so we would pitch all these gags. I mean, there was many gags would get thrown out, many storylines that I would pitch would get thrown out, but it was all during those rough stages where we're just like seeing what's fun. And like I remember like in that episode pitching like they were in the woods, and when they're making their camp, I had this whole scene where like Clancy is like Home Alone style booby trapping the campsite with all these like fun traps that you would like see later, like when the zombies come, because they would all spring out and kill all the zombies. And then meanwhile, while they were talking, I had Dr. Drew doing a little bug cooking show. Like he's like cracking a bug over another bug and then like sprinkling a bug on that bug and then roasting it. And like you
Yeah.
know, and stuff like that, you know, would get cut all the time, and that's okay. Like I remember in the pool room, there was this whole scene where they're playing pool, and then Dr. Drew's like, oh, hold on, excuse me. And then they both go to the bathroom, and Dr. Drew's in the bathroom, and Clancy. And the door is open, and Clancy is in a chair facing the other way, and like handing him a toilet paper sheets, and like there's this cute little scene where like Dr. Drew like has to climb up this little stool to reach this high toilet, and then the camera zooms out and the press is in the bathroom with them behind rope, and they're all taking pictures, and like it was this cute little scene. And you know, it like all throughout Midnight Gospel there were little things like that we had to dial back on, because sometimes you need like a chill moment, and that's okay. But I think that it's a good example of like every part of Midnight Gospel, the reason why there's so much attention to detail is through every single step they were okay with artists adding little things. Like they were okay with like, okay, so there's these zombies that are attacking here. The storyboard artists didn't have enough time to show how all of the zombies moved and how they attacked. Like the animators would add like a zombie swinging in on his intestines, or you know, a different zombie that's doing a different thing. And I mean, same with design, and all throughout, like people were adding little things, and so it feels like this thing that's impossibly dense with little like Easter eggs because of that.
Yeah. Oh man.
That show is such a good example of like limitation breeds creativity, because it's like you have really narrow parameters that you have to make it work, and so it's like, how weird can we get within like these parameters? That's great.
That's really great. I feel like I also am of the idea that like animation should be limited, just because it's such like a big it's such a complicated art form that the more you can think ahead with like limitations, the better probably your result is going to come out, because you didn't at the end of your when you get towards the end of your pipeline, you're not surprised by all the limitation, if that makes sense. Like if you think about them ahead, then you can really like make them shine. But it's like, it's so great because like I don't know, when I watch Midnight Gospel though, it looks like really rich and it doesn't really look limited at all. Yeah. Who are you working with in terms of animation? Was it all like animated here? Because the animation is really beautiful.
So there was a huge animation team spread across 3 different locations of Titmouse. So sure. I think that cleanup might have been done overseas, but all of the rough animation was done here. So they had like an interesting cleanup process where it was all animated in Adobe Animate, and then they would have separate layers for the colors and separate layers for the lines, so that the lines would get cleaned up and then sent through like a rendering process that made them feel rough, like the lines would feel like scraggly a little bit, and
almost like a boiling line.
Yeah, so it almost didn't look like a Flash show because of that.
Yeah,
right. That does help. Yeah, Flash has a weird baggage to it. It's like, I think having worked in it for as long as I have, it's like I can immediately tell when it's Flash, and that's always the way to go, is like add some kind of grain to it or something, just to like have it feel less vectory. And yeah, Midnight Gospel does a great job of that.
Yeah, I think it was nice to see so much of the animation done in house, and so many animators worked on it. Because I don't know, I feel like on a lot of shows like that, like it almost all gets done overseas or something, and there was just so much work to be done and given out like fun work to artists here, you know.
Was it possible because it was a Titmouse show? Is it because like Titmouse has the infrastructure to do that, or maybe it's also budget?
I think so. Titmouse also likes to do like projects that are that a lot of other American studios wouldn't do or wouldn't try to do. They do a lot of
Huh.
pretty ambitious like animation in America that I feel like would normally be done overseas. Yeah, I mean, I was really surprised by how it all turned out. I was like, man, this seems like a lot. I don't know. I feel like there's gonna be some shots where like where they're like, okay, we gotta phone this in, we gotta get this episode done. But really, like I think you can tell that the animators had fun. I think that's the big thing. Like you can
Yeah,
tell the
you can.
animators went extra and because they were allowed to, like do some
Mhm.
extra shit and that environment breeds this like everybody like put a little bit of themselves into it. It was nice.
Yeah. Speaking of creativity and having to come up with all this stuff, we like to ask our guests about creative block, and so we're wondering, what does that feel like for you, and how do you deal with it when it hits you?
Yeah, I think that sometimes I realize that I am working on someone else's show too much and not thinking about my own ideas, or I'm, like in Dueling Drawing Requests, I'm taking a lot of requests from other people, but I sometimes you might find yourself you not thinking of your own ideas as much, and that's usually what it feels like for me when I feel like I'm not like making my own thing enough. What I usually do to deal with it, it's a less of a like 0 to 100 approach. It's not like I'm not going to expect myself to already snap into beast mode right away from a slump. I think mine is more of um it's a style of creating the most moments in a day where it's possible I'll become motivated, and that usually starts with uh like keeping a little notebook or a sketchbook and dedicating like a half an hour every day to just sit and think with no headphones and just write a joke or whatever. You don't have to do a finished picture. Like just start thinking that way. And if you start just a little bit, then throughout the day you start thinking about that thing more, and it's about building up habits. And because I feel like with this kind of stuff, it's so motivation based. Like we try, it's easy to say like, an artist has to be able to just sit down and work and be a genius, and like it doesn't matter if you're motivated or not. You have to just sit down and do it. But always that's not always how it works. Like most of the time you're having to sit down and compel yourself to be motivated somehow. And if you are approaching it that way, and I think that for me, the best way in the past has been to find ways to um, build up how much I'm thinking about new ideas or how much I'm inspired, or create more frequency in how much I'm in the mood to do work. And I think ideas come first with me. It's like if I have an idea, I'll want to draw it, so I concentrate on that part.
Yeah. Hmm.
Sounds good. We got some questions on Twitter that we wanted to ask that I think are pretty good. From @KMakesThings. Howdy, Sean. What advice would you give to folks who move to LA for industry work? Bonus, what not to do?
One of the biggest pieces of advice to give is like just keep making things and releasing things. Basically what you are, so almost think of it like you're on the ramp going up to the highway. Like you're picking up speed because eventually you're going to have to match those cars. And I think that regimenting yourself so that you're drawing, you know,
Yeah.
like a lot each day is not only going to make it so that you're putting out work that people can see, and people can potentially hire you from what they see instead of it all being on you reaching out to recruiters, but also it's going to up your skill level, so that it's not so jarring when all of a sudden you're required to draw and to be clever for like 8 hours a day. And I think that is like the biggest thing, and something that I see a lot of students struggle with, finding that momentum to draw and put out stuff and keep making their own shorts. Basically, you got to find what makes you want to do this on your own, because one of the biggest things that I think people hire from is like when they see somebody that they can tell loves this and draws all the time and would be doing it even if they weren't hired.
Yeah.
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 That's huge. I do feel like I run into people online who it seems like they're doing it like for someone else. Like, I don't know. It's like this weird like thing where it feels like it's a burden on them to like make things. And it's like, I hate to break it to you, it's only going to get worse if that's your attitude going in. Like, it's you have to enjoy it first. This is not a lucrative gig. Like, this is not the thing to do if you want to make money. So it's like, you gotta enjoy it.
Yeah, the other thing is like, it really is not going to be a like you move out here and you get a job a month later kind of thing. It really it just isn't. It's not. It doesn't work the same as other businesses. So I would say building up a reliable stream of freelance revenue that you can work from anywhere, that you can keep when you move out here, is a good idea as a safety net.
I was going to say, I agree with what you're saying, Sean, because for me, I didn't move to LA until I already had been working freelance for 2 years for Nickelodeon. So I already had, not only did I already have a gig with a major studio in Burbank, but it like, well, of course there's visa stuff, but it's like, it's possible to land a gig from, especially now during the pandemic, or like the end, I mean, hopefully we're nearing the end of the pandemic. It's possible for you to land a gig without being in LA. And maybe it's something to consider. It's something that I'm telling a lot of people now, because it's something to consider if where you live right now, you can afford like a cheaper rent, because LA rent is not cheap. And that's going to be something that you have to think about. Like, you wouldn't want to like move to LA, not have a job for, I don't know, 2 years and pay the crazy rents here. That's just a sidebar.
Saving up somewhere else less expensive, I think, is pretty helpful.
Yeah. We had another question from @Jodero6. What do you do as warm-ups before working on storyboards?
That's a good question. Like I said, I like to on days where I'm feeling functional, I like to warm up with my own ideas, like drawing for fun, getting those bad drawings out of me. I feel like every day we all have a certain number of bad drawings just waiting inside of us to come out. So if you can get some of those out, like at the beginning when it doesn't matter, out in a sketchbook that no one's ever going to see, just like draw, be bad, let yourself be bad. It's okay. Do some jokes that are stupid, whatever. Or if the joke thing isn't your thing, just just some warm up drawings, some figure drawings, things like that help you get in the mind space of storyboarding. Is a very it's like you have to think spatially. So drawing characters in like weird poses, or picking something that that you're bad at and filling a whole page with it. I think those things are all things that I've used to sort of get better. I for writing as a warm up, sometimes what I do is I'll like sit on my porch for like 15 minutes and I'll put on beats and I'll freestyle.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter,
Nice.
if it's good, and it doesn't matter if anybody hears you. It's one of those things where it's letting your words not have so much meaning and importance, and so that it doesn't feel stupid. It's like getting rid of that blank canvas syndrome, just like letting everything come out and getting used to that and get flowing. So those are some warm-ups, I guess.
Damn, that's great. That's such a great idea. Just because, the perfectionism is something that I struggle with, and I suspect a lot of people do, where it's like every stroke, every word has to be perfect, and it's like, no, that's not how the creative process works generally. That's great. What kind of goals do you have for your future, for your career, or for your life? What do you want to do?
So right now I'm heading more towards uh directing and sort of like directing on one hand, and also maximizing being able to work on things that are either in my style or I have a lot of control of, which is why directing is sort of in that wheelhouse. So for instance, like whether it's like pitching shorts that I'm writing, or pitching shows, or I'm in the middle of developing some show things. And yeah, I just want to maximize. I feel burnt out. I think on working on shows where I feel like I have very
Yeah.
little control, and the more I can maximize things that I feel like I have a real um, stake in, the more I'll be happy. So just finding ways to finding ways to do that. Yeah, I just pitched something recently, and I was actually going to say at the beginning of this, because we woke up early for me. Like it's probably late for most people, but I usually sleep in. But I was like, man, like I've been having to wake up early for pitches
Yeah.
or for meetings recently, and like recently I had to wake up for one at like 7:30, and I was saying like, man, like they want me to wake up and be funny at my least funny part. Like studies have shown that I'm the
Yeah.
least funny at
Research
this
has
time
shown.
of the day. Like let's go. But like the thing is, the pitch went really well. So I'm like, man, maybe the morning is undiscovered funny territory for me, or interesting territory for me, and I gotta have more interviews and pitches early in the AM.
Maybe. It's something that, yeah, as I've been getting, I mean, I think it just happens as you get older. Like the morning becomes, you wake up earlier, and like the morning is not as scary. But I also have been having to do more meetings in the morning. But I kind of like, having more accomplished before noon. Like that's something that I'm starting to value more, because it's like, I don't know. I've done the sleeping in thing, and I've done, God, my schedule was so fucked at one point. I was waking up at like 2 p.m. And
Yes, dude.
yeah, this is like after
Wow.
college and shit. But it's like, but I don't think I
Y'all.
was more productive. I don't know. It's just like,
I like working at night. I think that's
yeah.
my thing, is like I'll get a lot done like from midnight to like 5 in the morning.
I
And
used
because
to.
it's just like cool, and no one's hitting me
Yeah.
up. Like I don't have distractions. I'm just like
Yeah.
zoned in. But yeah, I think you start missing the sun, and a big part of doing what I do is human interaction,
Yeah.
with other
Yeah.
humans, and I gotta like try to be funny and communicate, and it's hard to do that late
I think
at
that's a
night.
good point, because I think that especially with the pandemic and being stuck at home, it's like what used to be a nice moment like at night where it's like no one's bothering me. It's like, well, no one's ever bothering me now. So I don't know. I kind of like being around, like even if it's virtually, I kind of like being awake as other people at the same time. It's like it's flip-flop for me. I
Yeah.
also just get sleepy. I'm getting sleepy now. I get sleep
You're getting
I get
sleep,
sleepy
though.
at like 10, and I'm like, fuck, I'm in my 30s now. That's what happens, huh? Anyway, enough about my sleep schedule. I think that was really great. We really appreciate you coming on the show. You're our first guest that works primarily in adult animation, which is very exciting, and yeah, a lot of interesting wisdom.
Yeah, you have a lot of people that work in
Yeah.
you have a lot of people that work in
Yeah,
baby
baby
stuff.
tunes.
No. Baby tunes.
Dumb baby shit is what we call
Yeah,
it.
yeah. We're gonna switch it up soon. We're gonna
Yeah.
switch it up. So
But yeah, you
Watch
have
out.
the honor of being our first adult animation specific guest.
Yeah. The funny thing is I really like approaching adult animation with the same
Sure.
techniques that people use for kids animation. Like I really like the old version of the old Adult Swim version or whatever of adult animation, where it's like it needs to be offensive and gory with a lot of cursing and drugs and sex. Like that isn't it
Yeah, I
for
agree.
me. And I think that like having something feel like regular show or midnight gospel but be adult, I think is my jam. So maybe I'm a good segue into spicier
That's the idea.
people
Yeah,
for you.
that's the idea. And I think that it's, yeah, I agree. I hope that there's more and more. There is a good amount of new adult animation coming out. Like there's so much you could do with adult animation. And I love that more and more is coming out. And you're a part of that, buddy. Well, I think that's the end of this creative block. Sean, thanks so much for being our guest and sharing your story.
Awesome. Yeah, dude, thanks for having me on.
And thanks to your listeners. Follow us on Twitter. It's at Creative Block, creative without the vowels, where we ask for drawing prompts and questions to ask our guests. Huge thanks to our editor Clemens for editing the podcast, and Malik for helping us produce this show.
If you love our show, then support us on Patreon. Becoming a patron gets you early access to interviews as well as bonus episodes. Click the link in the description of this episode. I've been your host, Gene.
And I was V. Keep being creative, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Hit us with that cool voice.
All right, everybody, bye. Watch more Creative Block on their YouTube channel. Love you, kisses.
And that was Satan. Bye, everybody.